Kazi. I know I'm going to mess with the volume of YouTube. What am I doing, YouTube? All right, so we've been talking about Linux for a little bit and rolling releases. So I had installed Tumbleweed as a virtual machine, but I went ahead and took I have an ASUS, an old ASUS laptop that has an integrated, not an integrated, it has a discrete graphics card, which means separate graphics card. Runs a lot more power than my mini PC. And I installed OpenSUSE Tumbleweed on it. And that's what you're looking at right there if it's going. Yep. If you could like, subscribe, unsubscribe, resubscribe, share. Let people know that they can subscribe, share the channel and ideas about the channel. I'd appreciate it. And you can buy me a cup of coffee. So I installed Steam, and I am going to run Fallout on it. Now, right now you're looking at the OpenSUSE desktop, the Tumbleweed desktop. It's a rolling release, which means it's, it's not waiting for a 6-month snapshot or like a emergency. It's just getting updated all the time. Now, I want to tell you a couple things. Number one, like all of this stuff, like when I first do it, some things don't work. So what I realized, a key component for me to install software. So the idea is to keep this on this other laptop and then run the games, run any of my Fallout content on this laptop. And I'm also going to give you some metrics between the speed of the laptop and it's an older laptop and an older processor, but it's running at its maximum wattage. So we'll see what that is. That's going to be an interesting video. But it didn't load OBS at first. It wasn't in the package. We talked about the differences in the package. KDE has a package manager that's kind of as a front end, but there's a package manager in OpenSUSE called YAST is their kind of thing that manages everything, and it's YAST this and YAST that, whatever. So Steam, I think, was loaded by default. And then, and I may have loaded it, I'm not positive, because things are going to get sketchy. Because when the OBS wasn't working, watching football at the same time, YouTube. You deserve my full attention, YouTube, not some crappy football game attention. So it didn't install that. And when I looked to install it in the package, it looked like it's not there. So I went online and I saw a couple things that wasn't there. OpenSUSE has a kind of, you can install it from here kind of thing, and it's experimental or community-based. I could, of course, Flatpak it, but what I've learned about Steam, if you Flatpak it, it'll have some permission problems. So I try to avoid Flatpakking. It seems like it's the easiest fix, but it's cheating, I guess. And on top of it, I was installing it on a dual booting hard drive. Now, this is why you don't want to use Windows, because Windows, when it writes on the hard drive, it would write, okay, the boot sector is in the front, and then it throws like maybe a recovery small section in there that's up near the front. Then you write your disk, and then at the end of whatever your first disk is, it'll put a little part. It might be a recovery also, or a special, right? So if you don't use all the disk space, and I never do when I'm doing Windows, I would always have like 100 to 100 gigabytes to maybe 125 for the operating system. I installed nothing on C except the operating system, blah, blah, blah. Well, this kind of fragments the disk automatically. One of the problems that Windows does, if you have fast boot on or you have a hibernation, Windows locks the disk so it can't be seen, so it can't get overwritten by a different operating system. So I have a disk from a different, so I realize this installation for the next, let's say, month is going to be locked in at, I don't got a ton of space on it, and I probably have to reinstall it. So I don't want to install a lot of, games on it, because I'm going to have to just reinstall them. And I've kind of focused right now is putting a lot of stuff on Fallout 76. I was playing that Ashes of Creation. I'm like level 15 there. The max level right now was 25. And it's really grindy at this point. I don't want to grind it. Like, I don't want to burn out on the game before the game even comes out. So I'm okay with that. So that's kind of that perspective. I have a terabyte on there that's like a 400 and a 500 gigabyte. And then on my other disk is like a 500, but it has these stupid partitions. I got rid of as many as I could. So other than that, OpenSUSE is running KDE, and so I've made all those changes. You saw me make those changes on the virtual machine. I did the same things here, so that's all done. But OBS wouldn't load, so then I was like, So as I'm trying to reboot, I had put Bodhi Linux on this, and I also was going to try, it's like Zone Linux. It's another rolling distribution, Toxic Linux or whatever. That one... So I made an ISO for that, and I tried to install it. It doesn't have a graphical installer, and then I got the live disk to go, and it was just, I had problem after problem. Here's a good thing. Even Bodhi, I could load Steam, and I could download the program, but it wouldn't run. In my experience, what that is, it's either ownership or it's permissions. Because every of these files, they got to have read, write, but they also have to have execution. And then the last thing is if you Flatpak it, there's another command you got to run. So I could have got Bodhi running, but the idea was to get you a rolling release from a substantial. And during the search of all this, I saw Rhino Linux, which is a rolling release based on Ubuntu. Now, it had a couple of things that I can't do on this other stuff, and that's having containers. And it has a Docker built right in. You can get it. So like that interested me. So that maybe my other laptop, I'll do Rhino Linux, which is a Ubuntu, which is a Debian rolling release kind of distribution. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm going to say this. Catchy Hoss just worked. And so I guess I'm doing this to show you the rolling release, like I'm going to do this content, and, you know, it just worked. I can't tell you how bulletproof it's been once I got past some of the things. The other thing I'm going to show you, there's a thing called Open Edit or open source. It's a freeware version of the, editing software for the, for my videos. So the idea would be I record the video right there on that laptop, and then I edit it right there. And so you're going to see at the back of this video, I'm jerking around with that, and I don't know what I'm doing. So I got to practice it to figure out what to do before I make a video of doing it. There's other how-to videos, and I glanced at it. I'm like, oh, it's easy. I'll just do it. But it wasn't easy. So at least for me, I gotta go through it once before I show you. But I left it in there to show you, like, why do I explain all these problems? Because I would be a liar if I said, hey, just installed and it just worked. It would make the video better, but it wouldn't be truthful, because even Windows had problem running. So I still had a partition. Eventually, Windows upgraded itself and did whatever. And then I was trying to boot other partitions. Eventually, Windows just went, I can't do anything. I'm just broken. Now, I know I could have gone into recovery, but I just said, I'm going to wipe everything. And I've told you this before. This was my experience on every single hard drive I've had. Whenever I've tried to dual boot it, it's possible. For those of you that are listening, now I'm just looking at the camera. I'm looking at the people watching video. It's possible to dual boot. I don't know why you're dual booting. Your hard drive's all messed up. The better is to make the dive in. If you can't play your games, then, right, I get it. But you can play all your games. You maybe can't play, if you're a AAA first-person shooter person that has a cheat program. I'm going to say this as an old guy, right? The games I play don't have the anti-cheat things in it because they're not games you can cheat at. So you just can be honest playing. So whatever. Not trying to moralize about it, just telling you what it is. So I'm going to have CatchyOS. I have it at least on 3 of the machines I have. I have my main mini PC. I got my gaming handheld, and I got an old laptop I have it on. It's kind of like my backup. Again, the other point of this channel is to reduce the power consumption on all this. So that's number 1. I have an old PC that it's a beast, but it's got like when 32 gigs of RAM were a lot, it has 32 gigs of RAM. Like it's a motherboard, it's a computer I made myself. I had fans. This thing's never going to overheat because I'm going to have fans everywhere. It's like an airplane when I turn it on. And that was my main, and I had a card in it, and I probably could put a different card in it. But I didn't want to have a bigger power supply. Why am I such a doodah about the power supply thing? Because when you look at a Mac Mini, it does everything, and it's just sipping the power like 12 watts. You can go up to 25 watts, but like it's idling really low, and it's running really low. So, like, why do I got to burn up all the power? It's 500 watt power supply, 800,000 watts isn't nothing. But when I had hair YouTube and I had a blow dryer when I was a kid, you know, we had like a 1500 watt. So you start thinking about all that power, and, you know, I didn't know that they're going to start charging us more for electricity because we have all these AI data centers and electric cars, but like, I want to sip the power. And that's one of the big, let's talk about the first glance at the performance between the laptop and my newest PCs. That laptop ran it pretty darn good, and it's old. It's like maybe 15 years old. I have to double check how old it is. It's an old laptop, but it has a discrete graphics card. And so it just punches above its weight. Plus it's running at a lot more power. And so that's kind of the key thing here. If you have an older computer, it still might work. But what are the advances in PCs? They make them smaller and smaller, the CPUs. Like they're down to 4 nanometer and down to 3 nanometer. That processor in that PC might be like a 20 nanometer, might be a 14 nanometer, right? It's 4 times bigger. What's important about that? Well, generates more heat because it's bigger, longer pathways, so it's a little bit slower. So as they reduce the size of the chip, shorter distance for things to go, the speed of light is not infinite. It's 186,000 meters a second per second, or whatever it is. So the PCs are just getting faster just because they're making them smaller. Also, they need less electricity, right? So the speed of it, though, is not, because I have more cores, right? That's how I'm getting more speed. So when you start thinking about what makes something faster or not, I mean, why don't I start looking at the power consumption of it? Because if I throw as much power as I want at something, of course it's going to work good. A processor that can go up to 120 watts, it can, and you know, if I cool it, it can go even higher. And then graphics cards that I can put tons and tons and tons of power into. Yeah, of course. But I understand if you're playing those games, but that's what you have to think about. Am I playing a game where I need it? Computer-wise, right? You think about when I load some of those DOS programs, they load fast and do everything because they don't have all the overhead of all the graphical stuff. If I'm just crunching numbers, excuse me, YouTube, if I'm just crunching numbers or I'm just writing letters, why do I need all that interface? I don't. That's the beauty of the terminal, i.e. also I can go to DOS on my other computer. And so when you start thinking about it, here's the other thing. It's easy to reduce the power. I don't know how easy it's going to be to reduce the power on those older laptops. It wasn't something anyone cared about. It's at a time in the universe, YouTube, where we didn't care about power. But We didn't have the same situations that we have now. So I'm running through here. In the last video I showed you, I ended up going to like this Mad King's palace, and I fought everyone, and it was in the red. And this videos, I'm always shooting my part in the red, and blah, blah, blah. And I didn't want to go there, and so it's a part of the story that I'm advancing. This is like, I'm just trying to do some side quests here, and I wanted to get some, there was a really nice road sign. The new contents in Ohio. I'm supposed to be in West Virginia. When the game came out, one of the things, they picked West Virginia because it's got a creepy part to it. Like there's the dog man, and there's the moth man, and there's all these kind of paranormal kind of things in West Virginia. But then they also included Ohio, and Ohio is a dump in the game, YouTube. In real life. Not a dump. For those of you at home that are listening, thank you for listening. So I went back to take a sign of Ohio, and I made sure I had the right light on it. And then when I put my effects on the video, it just washed it out too much. So the thumbnail wasn't that great. And I'm gonna pull back the curtain again a little bit more even. When you're doing these videos, you got to make a thumbnail. You should. And so I'm always looking for a good spot where I can do some things and make it interesting. In the old days, I would have probably made the title, Die Hard, because that's, but YouTube might misconstrue that nowadays. It's a crazy world we live in. So getting back to OpenSUSE Tumbleweed, rolling release, essentially, it's the same as my other computer. Now, here's what's great about Linux, and this is what I'm telling you about any distribution. I'm running KDE on both. I'm running Steam on both. I'm running Fallout 76 on both. I'm running OBS on both. It makes each computer, and they're on the latest version. They're going to be pretty close to being even. Catchy, of course, is different because they have a different type of philosophy. But they're both rolling releases. They're both going to be relatively new things, and you can do it on any distro and anything. Another thing I want to prove to you, because everyone always goes, well, the rolling release could blow up. If you look at every video on rolling releases, people say that. I told you why they say that, because technical people don't want to be responsible for your demise when it messes up, and they go, you write them, go, it's messed up, and well, that's what I told you. Use it at your own risk. Windows, if you use that malicious software tool, that's like every week or every couple of weeks that's coming out that you'd install on your system. And Windows has broken things when they have little patches like that. So then they waited for a big patch. Then it takes hours and hours for it to patch. Like, so it's just the nature of technology. And we've talked about how much technical. Here's where the thumbnail is, right? So, okay, YouTube, I'm playing the game, and that sign catches my eye a little bit. And I'm trying to jump up there, and I can't. And I go, ooh, let me do that. So that's the idea for the thumbnail. That's what you get behind the curtain, YouTube. And I'm going to jump over to the other place. So I want you to get a sense of rolling releases, and I'm going to do that with Rhino Linux. I will probably load that, but not do videos on it. I'm going to focus on just doing these videos here and talking about other things, topics in Linux. I'm not going to waste your time and give you news about Linux. There's people that do it better than me. They get way more viewers than me, and then they want to put extra flavor. I am still a newbie in Linux. I'd say I'm great at technical things, but I'm new at Linux. So I don't want to sit here and preach to anyone. That'd be less than sign, right? Because there's a lot more people that know more than me. They just do crappy videos and you don't want to watch them. And maybe all of us should band together and have a network of low-viewed videos, but make them a lot better and have a better message. So if you do find the channel, it's a little better and have a little better art and don't have the camera where most of the camera. Okay, quick tip to all YouTubers. Unless you have a separate camera and mic. And even if you do, but we don't want to see your room. If most of the frame of your video of you is the room, I have to run down to the timeout YouTube. I have to run down to the Ohio sign and kill these ghouls on my way down there. We don't want to look at all that superfluous stuff. We want to have a close-up. If you're not a face for a close-up, then I don't know what to tell you. And when you have a screen, when you're doing a viewing of your terminal, make the terminal so it will fill the whole screen. I'm not saying on a 1920 by 1080 screen, just make it full size. You're going to have to zoom and edit the video to make the text you're writing bigger, YouTube. We don't want to see all that empty space. That's technical people, right? They aren't people. That's what I mean. Well, you should know that. No, we want to see how to do that. So ultimately, how did I fix my OBS thing? I had to add some package managers. I went to OBS website and said, how do I do this with OpenSUSE Tumbleweed? And I just copied the sudo commands and put them in there. Bam, bam, bam. And it was all done. It was easier. A month ago, whenever I started this journey, I would have been scared of that. Now I'm not. It's Ronan Kazi. Don't be scared, YouTube. It's a new year. OpenSUSE Tumbleweed. Bye.